Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time we finished the Moon and Sun ending, and now we're going to have a look at an ending called A Bloody Contract for Your Sins. I think it's going to be focusing around Aoi. Is that right? Is that her name? Let's jump straight into it. The first thing we need to do is skip straight to our first delusion trigger, so let's do that. Okay, we're skipping. So we've got to go to delusion trigger number 1, and then do negative. And then delusion trigger number 2. Let's just do no to all of these. Click, 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 click. And then delusion trigger number 2 in the base with Nanami. Do negative or neutral. And then it's going to split off at chapter 7. Okay, here we go. So, what do we need to do? Negative is what we need to do. So, I'm pretty sure that we've seen this negative result, so hopefully it'll just... Yeah, there we go. We saw that. Delusion trigger number 2 in the base with Nanami. Murderer and demon, I think that said. Great. Nanami interrupts us. There she is. Hi, Nanami. And then negative or neutral. I guess we'll do negative. Actually, have we done neutral? Yeah, we have done neutral here. So let's do negative. And then we... Oh, hang on. I guess this is new? Damn it. Who the hell did she think she was acting like such a goddamn princess? Sure, go ahead. Drink so much cola that you destroy your stomach and get sent to the emergency room. Then I can finally relax and spend some time alone. If only that would actually happen. Suddenly, Nanami let out a groan. Oh, it's a Nanami. And as soon as she did, she dropped the bottle of soda, splashing cola everywhere. It spilled all over the manga magazines and CDs I'd left down there. Don't mess up my room, I was about to say, but then I realised what was happening. Nanami's eyes had shot wide open and her hands were pressed against her neck. She looked like she was in immense pain. Her mouth immediately flapped open and closed like a carb. Nanami? She was vomiting blood. Red blood, actually. It was closer to dark brown. Splashed onto the floor. Oh, I see. Red blood. Actually, it was closer to dark brown. Mixing with the spilled cola. And then she lost her strength and collapsed. Her entire body convulsed as she writhed in agony. She clawed at her own neck with her fingernails. Her legs spasmed as she was thrashing around the floor. She didn't seem to care at all that this was causing her skirt to flip up, exposing her panties. Takumi. What are we going to do with you, Takumi? This might seem a little in poor taste, but when I saw the way she was acting, I thought that she looked like she was a fish on a chopping board. Really? I mean, you're right, it is in poor taste. I didn't know what to do, so I just covered my ears. But that didn't help. I could still hear my sister's dying screams. Before long, her face was completely covered in drool, blood, and tears, and her body finally stopped trembling. Nanami? I reluctantly tried calling out to her, but there was no response. She was just lying there, in a pretty compromising position. The smell of ammonia hit my nose. Had she pissed herself, or had I? Gently, ever so gently, I poked her shoulder. She didn't move a muscle. Although I was a little scared, I gathered the courage to bring my ear near her lips. She wasn't breathing. She was dead. Minami was dead. It was like she'd been poisoned, the kind of thing you'd see all the time on TV. And that was when it hit me. I must have poisoned my own cola to kill Nanami, I was sure of it. Why did I kill her? Okay, well that was disturbing. Ugh. Obviously it had been just another one of my delusions, but it still made me sick to my stomach. That whole thing had definitely been a bit much. Sure, Nanami could be really annoying, but that delusion had been way too graphic. I should have just left her at 1 HP, not fucking one-shotted her. Huh? What's wrong? After finishing her cola, Nanami shot me a confused look. You look a little pale. I just shook my head a little. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? I'm sorry. Even if it was just a delusion, I treated you horribly. I'm sorry. But that's only because I can't stand your bratty attitude. I hate it so much that I took it out on you inside my head. Would it kill you to understand that? You really don't need to apologize. It's not like I'm mad at you for not having milk tea or anything. And besides, for what it's worth, I like cola too. But wait, did she just drink all my cola? I take back my apology. Nanami doesn't deserve it at all. I hope she gets her stomach torn open and bleeds out. There we go. Well, that was a bit disturbing, wasn't it? So, we're going to go straight to chapter 2. Delusion trigger number 8. Join the phantasm performance while watching Fez. It's got to be negative. Here, we can skip this. And then there's going to be subsequent prompts. Oh, I guess this must be to do with Fez, not Ayoi. Or Ayase. Yeah, Ayase is Fez, isn't it? Okay, cool. Ooh. So how are you guys doing back there? You enjoying this playthrough? Kind of boring watching this skip. I wish it could just skip to the next relevant bit. There was sewer. Ignore that. Yes, it's going to branch at... What did we say? Chapter 7. Another chapter 7. Okay, skip that. We don't need to talk to the good doctor. So it says, join the phantasm performance. You can skip Sarah Tan. Whatever her name is. Is it Sarah? Is that how you pronounce it? I've been doing that this whole time. Let's just skip this. Medical record. I wonder if there's any difference to doing that medical record. I should look that up. Does the medical record do anything? Oh, it doesn't affect anything apart from the tips menu. Interesting. Wonder what it does in the tips menu. Anyway, back on our computer. Here we go. Nearly there. Best concert. So I've got to answer negative here. Okay, so negative. She looked at me. Oh, I guess I've seen this before. Yes, I have. There we go. Fez must be asking for salvation. Yes, she is. I want to give in to Fez's seduction. Okay. Don't like where this is going. It would feel so good to jump. I'm sure jumping off would feel amazing. Dialogue's a little different. I wonder why that is. I don't care if I die, as long as it's together with Fez. Oh, hang on. Did I do the wrong thing here? Might have done the wrong one. I want to be released from everything. Set free from everything. Did I do the wrong thing then? Oh, I hope I didn't do the wrong thing. Hope I did the right thing. In fact, actually, just to be safe, I'm going to redo that. Let's redo it. Quick load. Here. Definitely do the right one. Right. Asking for salvation is a yes. Seduction is a no. Yeah, I think I did that wrong. So it'd be good if I did the right thing. Jumping off would feel amazing. Yes. I don't care if I die as long as it's together with Fez. Yes. And then I want to be set free from everything. There we go, discovered Ayase's story. Thank God I did that. Okay, so we can just skip everything here. Bum 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 bum. We've still got a bunch of Christmas cake. In fact, I say we don't now. I've spent the last couple of days eating like a whole tier of Christmas cake. My mum makes the best Christmas cake. And I ate it all. Vicky doesn't really like Christmas cake. She doesn't really like food with alcohol in it, no. But I'm all about that. I ate it all. Oh, here we are. There's some new stuff. As morning progressed, Kishimoto Ayase stood before the school gate, watching the sky absent-mindedly. Students passed by on either side, and she paid no attention to the strange looks she received from them. Her gaze was full of emptiness. From her perspective, school was utterly pointless. Her reasoning being she knew the world would end very soon. Even as a third year, she felt out of place wearing a school uniform. This was no time to be attending school. So she believed. Still, she occasionally went in order to continue her search for the Gate and the other Black Knights. Sumai Academy was the place where the Black Knights would gather, or rather it was the place where they would be gathered. That was the conclusion she'd reached. From a young age, Ayase had been seen as a problem child. She never finished middle school, thus preventing her from enrolling in high school. In spite of this, she transferred into Sumai Academy during May of her first year, a day she remembered vividly even now. She'd stood before the gate on that day just as she was now. Until then, she'd been institutionalized by Arkart Medical, which we know about. During that time, she endured a hellish trial in order to become a Black Knight. 1 month of psychiatric treatment later, she was finally discharged. The hospital's director, a man whose name she had long since forgotten, spoke to her at that time. Starting tomorrow, you'll be attending high school in Shibuya at Sumai Academy. I've done all the work needed to enroll you already. She was not told why. Those words still in her mind. The day she arrived before the school gate, she murmured something to herself. The heavens shall be dyed in red by the quickening of the wicked-hearted king. 7 dark, wicked hearts shall face birth in concord with this hour, for they are soon summoned to the Holy Land. And it will come to pass, 0 nightmares. No, it's not. It's oh nightmares. Oh calamities. Oh darkened cadavers, torn asunder. That wicked hearts shall slay one another, and so will be shattered the world under the wicked-hearted king's dominion. There were verses of the legend from the Gladial Book of Psalms and Revelation. A prophecy Ayase had taken to heart. One she uttered only because she knew now for certain this was the gathering place of the Black Knights. Thus, she would continue waiting. Thus, she would continue searching. And as time passed, she'd never felt a single trace of wickedness until now. At last, she could sense a presence, the presence of a potential Black Knight. It had certainly kept her waiting, but the change was wholly a welcome one. Time is already growing short. Gladieel's resurrection is almost upon us. Her words a faint, quiet murmur. Another Black Knight. With this thought, Ayase passed through the gate, seeking the boy she had met at the concert venue. Ah, me. Are we going to skip now? Skipping? Yes. And then there she is. And then we can skip this. I started playing Nier Automata. That's such a good game, isn't it? If you've not played that, I highly recommend it. Such a good game. Little dialing of the phone. Great. So what chapter am I on? Am I still on chapter 2? It's going to take forever. At the time of recording, I have 111 subscribers on YouTube. That's cool, isn't it? I wonder how many I'll have by the time this goes out. Oh, let's do the skipping. I think it's so cool that people. I mean, you think about it, like 111. That is like tiny numbers compared to other YouTube channels, obviously. But you know, 111 is a lot of people still. That's so cool that, you know, so many people decide to click on subscribe. Where are we now? You know, I've been getting into Silent Witness lately. I skipped a couple of years, so there's a couple of seasons to catch up on. That's pretty fun. It's not doing anything too crazy, but it's, you know, it's doing its thing. Pretty entertaining. I don't know if that's your thing, but you can check that out. I've also been getting into Balatro. Another good game. I'd like to play Balatro whilst I watch Silent Witness. It's one of those games you can kind of passively you can just passively play that. Oh, I just noticed that somebody has replied to my post about Chrono Jotter ages ago. So I had an issue in Chrono Jotter where basically you kind of get soft locked because you don't interact with enough of the other students in the school. And someone here has said, "Hi, I'm playing right now, and this happens to me." Okay, this happened to me, but when Kozumi kisses Ran, I'm trying to redoing all the previous exploration as you said, but it isn't working. Any advice? Thanks. Okay, I'll look into that in a second. I'm currently streaming this, and I probably should be paying more attention. There's Takumi being sick. 20 minutes into this episode, and nothing really has happened. Got a couple of things, but it should do it quicker. There should be a faster skip. Chapter 7. So what chapter are we now? Fumio. There's Yui. Doing a thing. Doing the choppies. Quite cold here. I should be wearing a jumper, really. It's interesting. I'm kind of... It's this part of the house, which is the kitchen room and... the kitchen room. Just the kitchen. And the dining room is a little colder than the rest of the house, and I don't know why that is. I guess they must be naturally colder rooms. Right? Because, you know, a dining chair isn't as warm as like a sofa or whatever, right? Oh, chapter 6 was that? Cool. We're nearly there. Go faster. Ooh, I'm tired as well. It's a bit late today. As of filming this, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. It's too late to be doing these. I should be doing them at a better time. Don't you think? Whose eyes are those eyes? Dialing. Inami. Then this is going to be... Will we find out her little hand? There it is. Yeah, after this we get to chapter 7, right? I'm going to have to click on the right ones as well. Hang on a sec. Here it is. So the right ones are... No. Oh, hang on. No. Proceed with the story with, yes, I saw a sword. I distinctly saw a sword. If I move from here, I can take it. No. I can see the sword from other places than here. No. And then... It's not actually a sword. Yes. Okay, moving on. There's Nanami with a hand cut off. Okay, here we go. New chapter. Where's the new stuff? Give me the new. Ah, come on. Where's our new stuff? Maybe it's at the end of this chapter? Is that possible? Yeah, it's got to be the end of this chapter, I guess. If you had to be one of the Giggly Maniacs, which one would you be? I'd probably be Yayoi. I think that she's probably the most badass, right? Everyone knows not to mess with her. Oh, here we go. According to the minimum attendance chart, I didn't have to go to school today. But despite that, I came to school anyway for one reason and one reason only. To see Remy. I had no doubt that the DQNs in class would make fun of me, just like they always did. It would definitely suck, but if it meant I could see Remy, I could endure it. It was also possible that Shogun could show up again. He seemed to be playing with me like it was some kind of game after all. Maybe he'd feel like sending me on another quest soon. Just the thought alone terrified me. I tried to grasp my D-sword, but even that was just to protect myself from him. Without that sword, how could I ever hope to escape his evil clutches? Maybe if Remy was by my side, like she said she would be, but... She'd been absent from school lately, which worried me. What if she'd been taken hostage just like Nanami? Was there anyone out there who could help me? Yeah, there's Fez, I'm assuming. I entered the classroom with my head pointed straight at the floor. Before taking my seat, I took a quick look around. I looked toward Remy's seat first. Empty. Was she taking today off too? Was it really that simple? Was she really just taking time off? I began to feel anxious. Next, I looked over at Kozupi's desk. Oh yeah. She was in her seat face down and huddled up. Morning, Takumi-san! Morning, Kasupi. I didn't make eye contact, but I greeted her with my inner voice. The female DQNs were always watching me. They were watching me, smirking. Cunts. Jesus Christ. Takumi. It was no different than yesterday. Cunts. They'd all already labelled me as that otaku freak who said he was psychic and made an ass of himself on TV. And that label wasn't going away anytime soon. The male DQNs didn't seem to have arrived yet. It was pretty common for them to skip first period, and that was fine by me. I took my seat. Kerplunk. Suddenly someone clapped me on the back. What up, Taku? It was Masumi-kun, with an uncomfortable look on his face. His slap was a lot weaker than usual. You certainly had no issue ignoring me before. Why start paying attention to me now all of a sudden? I'm sure that you'll regret talking to me. You'll become the DQN's next target, just like me. Yeah, Masumi-kun, even you. You'd be better off not associating with an otaku freak like me. I remained silent, but Masumi-kun forced a smile. Well, don't you look like shit? You're already this worn out, this early in the morning. Well, I know you're just that kind of guy. As harsh as his words were, I didn't get the feeling that he was joking or acting sarcastic. After all, it was pretty common for him to say stuff like that. And about before. Sorry about that. I had to hold on to whatever social cred I could, you know? You understand. Forget that, though. From now on, I'll treat you like I always have. Alright, good talk. He had an indifferent expression on his face. You seriously want to keep talking with me, same as always. You actually enjoy hanging out with an otaku freak like me, even though there's nothing to gain from it. Shit. I was actually getting wet now. Jesus fucking Christ, what the hell is going on? If Masumi-kun wants to fuck me in the ass right now, I probably wouldn't have been able to say no. Well, to be honest, I just figured being nice to you will help me stay popular with the ladies. He's kind enough to keep talking to human trash like him. What a dreamboat. Swoon, you know? Masumi Daisuke, go die in a hole. And to think I was this close to falling for you. Full homo. If you just didn't open your stupid mouth, nobody would have even realized you were such a narcissist. Worst of all, as if I even needed to say it, was that it was totally in character. He was being completely sincere. And so I finally cracked, my lips curled into a bitter smile. Oh yeah, did you hear about Kishimoto? Apparently she's still in the hospital. Her injuries weren't all that bad, but she's pretty messed up in the head. Listen up, Taku. Wanna know the fastest way to a woman's heart? Act like you care in her moment of weakness. So, on that note, I'm seriously thinking about paying Kishimoto a visit. Oh yeah, and while we're at it, Taku, you know Kishimoto, right? You mind coming with me? Huh? It was the typical subject matter of Masumi-kun. But that was that was beside the point. Well, I can't read at 2 o'clock. He'd mentioned Ayase. With Rumi gone, maybe she was someone I could turn to. Maybe I could depend on someone like her. Maybe. Oh, we're skipping. Oh. Am I here? The 7th case. It had happened again. Another new gen. How long was this damn thing going to go on for? Was I next? Would I be the victim of the 8th case? The 9th? Anxiety aside, Grim was pretty much the new gen news guy at this point. He'd been keeping me in the loop about basically everything. Even now, he was going out of his way to link a bunch of blog posts and news articles about it. Seemed like he really wanted me to take a look. Biting my lip, I reluctantly clicked the first link. 7th new gen case dubbed the DQN puzzle. There it is. Anti-DQNs. Group dive, man-child crucifixion. So have we not seen this? I guess this is new technically, even though I'm pretty sure we've seen this. At approximately 4:50 this morning, near a railroad in Shibuya, a passing newspaper salesman discovered the bodies of 3 male homicide victims suspended from an iron pole. The police investigation discovered that the victims were all residents of Shibuya. Fujita, Kohai unemployed, and there are all the names. Each victim had been severed in half at the waist. Their upper bodies and lower bodies were then interchanged with one another and stitched back together with thread. There were also mysterious wounds carved into their foreheads, and the police are investigating the possibility that there may be a message left by the culprit. The authorities believe the case is part of a series of grotesque murders that have been occurring in Shibuya over the past 2 months. The investigation is ongoing. At the end of the news clip, photographs of the 3 victims were shown. I had seen those faces before. It's them. The guys who beat me up yesterday. I'd given them my wallet, but they kicked my ass anyway. I'd then fallen unconscious, and when I woke up, Kozapi was beside me. The 3 of them had been collapsed on the ground, covered in blood. I dug my wallet out from my pocket and stared at it intently. When I came to, Kozapi had been carrying it, and she'd given it back to me soon after. Could the person who killed those 3 be Kozapi? No, definitely not. The last time I'd seen them, they'd been beaten to a pulp and covered in blood, but they hadn't been cut in half or anything. Which would mean they'd been killed after Kozapi and I had left. It had to have been Shogun. That wrinkly asshole was trying to provoke me. Damn it, he really was committed to driving me insane. Just how far was he willing to go? I wanted to vomit. I clutched my stomach as it churned in pain. Was I next? Would I be next to die? Just the thought of it terrified me. Grimmy, save me, please. Where did you go? Weren't you supposed to protect me? Kishimoto Ayase was lying in a hospital bed, idly gazing out the window. No bars lined the outside of it, a fact which set it apart from those at Arcart Medical, where Ayase had stayed in the past. All that stood past the window's frame was the landscape of Shinjuku, decorated by landscrapers and illuminated by the sunset. Flocks of pigeons soared freely through the sky, flapping their wings to their heart's content. Every now and then she would gaze upon this sight with a pained expression. Her slightly tired eyes were empty and bleak. Her irises reflected nothing. Her lips, which could let flow a voice so beautiful, it shook the youth of Shibuya, were now sealed tight. Not even so much as a hum escaped them. Following her suicide attempt, an event which caused quite the turmoil, she'd been admitted to the psychiatric ward of a large hospital in Yoyogi. Her injuries were already very nearly healed. According to the doctors, it had been nothing short of a miracle that she'd been able to survive a fall from that height, let alone with barely even a scratch. However, she had indeed hit her head fairly hard, and as such, she'd been rushed to the hospital, primarily so they could see how the situation would develop. It had already been over a week since then. However, despite her having been admitted for such a reason, all it seemed to entail was a few rudimentary tests, taken every couple of days or so. Beyond that, she'd been rather neglected. Her hospital room was private with no other beds inside it. Ever since her stay had begun, her D-sword had been leaning against the window. It constantly emitted a blue light, yet nobody who visited her ever seemed to notice. Not that there had been many visitors to begin with. Jesus Christ. Phantasm fans would attempt to force their way into her room daily, but as they always caused a disturbance in the process, the hospital had an excuse to forbid them from visiting her. And since Ayase was somewhat detached from her family, there were almost no others who came to visit her. Her fellow band members had made an appearance once, but Ayase used that opportunity to announce her decision for the band to break up. They had not contacted her again since. Kishimoto-san, did your thermometer beep? A nurse wearing white scrubs opened the door to the room, then swiftly entered. Ayase slowly turned to look at the nurse's face, then took out the thermometer that had been resting under her arm, as if she'd only just remembered its presence. The nurse took a look at the recorded temperature shown on its digital screen, then took note of it on the clipboard she'd brought with her. 37.1 degrees Celsius. You have a very slight fever. My head hurts. Ayase grimaced in pain once again. Oh dear. Is your headache back? I'm afraid that's just a side effect of the medicine we gave you. It'll be gone before long, so try your best to ignore it. Having recorded her temperature, the nurse consoled Ayase with a kind smile. Her expression was so gentle it was clear to all Oh, she was able to put her patients at ease. And yet, despite the nurse's attempts, Ayase simply pushed her hand against her forehead as she shook it back and forth. Ayase had been plagued by mild headaches ever since she'd first been hospitalized. They were not especially painful, but they still left her with an uncomfortable feeling that refused to go away, one that felt as if her brain itself was convulsing. It even reached the point where her ability to think was impaired. As well as this, her body would feel as heavy as lead. Ayase had experienced such symptoms in the past, namely when she had been institutionalized at Ark Heart Medical. Back then, her head was had constantly been split apart by painful headaches, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It deprived her of all sleep and emotional stability. Those were the memories she did not want to resurface. The past she'd sealed away. The events of around 2 years ago. And yet, her headaches was causing them to flash back into her mind once more. Oh, there she is. In them, a dark room, its single window locked behind bars. Apart from the wall in which that window stood, the rest of the walls were covered with mirrors. Ayase had been placed in the center of the room, sat in a crude steel chair. She was wearing headgear with countless cables protruding from it. Her hands were tied to the back of the chair. Her head was locked in place with her chin tilted slightly upward. Not another soul was present in the room. Thus, all that could be heard were the sounds of Ayase's laboured breathing and the metal groans of the chair she sat upon. Etc. Her saliva trickled down from the corners of her mouth, accompanied by moans akin to those of the beasts. If anyone were to hear them, they'd never have been able to guess that they'd be coming from a girl as young as her. Kill me! Kill me! She was being tortured. Slow, methodical torture. One that made very, very little sound. The method only involved one single thing. Not even an action. A drop of water falling from above onto her forehead every 5 seconds on the exact same spot. That was all it took. And it would continue unrelentingly for 2 full days. The result? Ayase could think only of the drop that would fall next. Her senses were sharpened to their limits. And each time a drop fell onto her forehead, another hallucination would be born. One in which each and every nerve across her body was plucked out one by one. One in which the bones of her entire skeleton crumbled to dust. One in which her head was pierced by a long, sharp awl. One in which all liquids within her body, including her blood, froze to ice. One in which the skin lining her entire body slowly rotted away before eventually peeling off. Assailed without end by these sensations, Ayase could no longer maintain her sanity. Returning to her senses, she breathed erratically as she tightly gripped the sheets lining the bed. Her body trembled as those dark memories of hers resurfaced in her mind. The nurse that had been in her room just a moment ago had already gone. Dinner time had just arrived at the hospital, and the clamorous sounds that came from it resounded from down the hall. Ayase tried to recall the words the nurse had spoken to her right before leaving. Was her headache really just a side effect of the drugs that she was on? Or had it been caused by her hitting her head, perhaps? Or perhaps it was just a hallucination brought forth by her past memories? She was unable to come to a decisive conclusion. Wiping away the sweat that ran down her forehead, Ayase called forth a smile laced with self-loathing. It matters not. It's in the past. For I endured and survived my divine punishment. I will not let it control me anymore. Murmuring in perhaps delirium, Ayase soon became aware of a sound reverberating throughout the hallway. A comforting sound of shoes stepping on the linoleum floor. Linoleum. It was certainly not being made by a nurse. And the sound of footsteps was heading right for the room that she was in. We know who it's going to be, Takumi and Masumi. Someone knocked on the door and she sealed her lips tight. And we'll find out if it is Takumi and Masumi next time on Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head. And I'll see you next time. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. 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 Bye.